Welcome to Lighten Your Load, the podcast for busy professionals, where we explore how a deeper understanding of how life really works can help remove the weight of excessive thinking, allowing you to live with less stress, more clarity, and greater resilience. Hello, I'm Peter Field, and welcome to episode 5 of the podcast, Lighten Your Load. If you've listened to previous episodes, you may be starting to appreciate that your experience of life is not quite as solid or fixed as it first appears. In episode 2, we explored the fact that you're actually living in the feeling of your thinking, not the feeling of your circumstances. And this is really good news because as you get a deeper understanding of how your experience in life is created, you're less inclined to regard your bad or negative thinking as something personal, meaning something important about you and your life. But rather you begin to see thought as part of a bigger system, a bit like the weather. Thought is neither personal and it includes a full range from agony to ecstasy. But when you don't engage and feed your bad or negative thoughts with even more negative thinking, something interesting starts to happen. Your busy mind starts to slow down. Not because you had to force or fix anything, but because that's the nature of mind. When you stop treating every temporary thought storm as ultimate truth, you naturally have less on your mind. And in that quieter, more expansive space, clarity, perspective, and fresh new thinking naturally arise. And you begin to get an appreciation for the fluidity and perfection of the design. And this leads us nicely into today's episode, and the third principle uncovered by Sydney Banks, the principle of mind. Now you may be wondering, okay, I'm beginning to see that the principle of thought gives us the capacity to think, and the principle of consciousness brings our thoughts to life via the 5 senses so that they appear very real to us. But what is the power or the source of the intelligence behind the whole system? How is it that human beings can experience insight, wisdom, and fresh new thinking seemingly from out of the blue, from nowhere? What is it that allows human beings to heal emotionally and recover from difficult experiences? Where does this inbuilt resilience come from? Well, this is what we're going to be exploring together in today's episode. Now, the principle of mind in the context in which I'm talking about it is not your personal thinking mind, which is always changing. But like the principles of thought and consciousness, what I'm pointing to is something much deeper, something that's impersonal, constant, and unchangeable. The principle of mind is talked about in many different ways. Sydney Banks referred to it as the universal intelligence and energy behind all of life, the source of life itself. In physics, they talk about it as energy, the formless energy behind life that's forever moving into and out of different forms. In the medical profession, it's often referred to as the life force, the force that animates the body. And in religion, they talk about it as spirit, God, or higher self. But whatever term is used, the inference is the same. It's all pointing to a deeper intelligence behind all of life itself. Now we see this intelligence in nature, whether it's the tiny acorn growing into a big oak tree, whether it's salmon swimming hundreds of miles to return to their breeding ground, or even in the changing seasons where spring always follows winter. This same intelligence is active in your body right now. As you're listening to this podcast, your heart is beating, you're breathing, your blood is circulating, your cells are repairing and replacing themselves, your immune system is identifying and responding to potential threats. And none of this is happening consciously or being controlled by you. Just imagine if you had to remember every heartbeat or consciously direct every breath while sleeping. You'd quickly die. Yet an extraordinary intelligence is carrying out trillions of complex processes every second without your personal involvement. And here's where it gets even more exciting. This same infinite intelligence is also active in our mental or psychological lives. For example, have you ever struggled with a problem for hours trying desperately to solve it, only to suddenly have the answer arrive while taking a shower, driving, or just going for a quiet walk? You weren't forcing the insight, it just appeared naturally when your mind settled. Or maybe you've experienced a moment where you suddenly saw a situation differently, without any effort whatsoever. One moment you felt stuck, the next moment clarity seemed to arrive out of nowhere. This fresh new understanding did not come from excessive thinking. It came when our personal thinking subsided. That's the principle of mind in action. I know when I was in the corporate world, I thought the only way to solve difficult and complex problems was through more thinking. I just didn't know that some of our deepest insights emerge when our personal thinking quiets down. I did not know that just beneath the noise of our personal thinking, there's an innate intelligence that guides us. And the more we become aware and trust this intelligence, the less trapped we seem to become inside our own mental activity. The principle of mind is constantly moving us back towards balance, clarity and well-being, even when we temporarily lose sight of it. Just like the body heals physically, the mind has an innate capacity to return to psychological equilibrium. Does this mean we never experience pain, grief, fear or difficulty? Of course not. But it does mean that these experiences are not signs there's something fundamentally broken within us. Beneath the movement of thought and emotion, our innate well-being remains intact. And this is perhaps one of the most helpful aspects of this new understanding about these three principles. The peace of mind, wisdom and insight that we're all searching for to help us navigate through life's inevitable challenges does not require constant effort, struggle or willpower. It's present 24/7, just underneath our temporary and constantly changing movement of thought. And the more you begin to sense that there's something deeper operating within you, beyond your personal intellect alone, when you realise that there's a deeper wisdom, a deeper stability, a deeper intelligence connected to life itself, the easier and more fulfilling life becomes. You begin to see the perfection of the design behind these three universal principles. Thought creates the mental reality we experience moment to moment. Consciousness allows us to experience that reality vividly and personally. And mind is the deeper intelligence and energy behind the entire process. And together they describe the living system through which all human experience is created, no exceptions. And perhaps the greatest gift of understanding the principle of mind is that it restores hope. No human being is endlessly trapped by their past thinking. No human being is broken or needs fixing. Beneath the confusion, fear, stress, anxiety, or any other painful emotion, there's something profoundly healthy, stable, and unchanging at the core of every person. It's their spiritual essence. As the French Jesuit priest Pierre Teilhard de Chardin famously quoted, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience." And the more deeply you begin to realise this for yourself, the more naturally life will unfold for you with greater ease, compassion, trust and hope. Now, the implications of these universal principles are absolutely life-changing. And this is what we're going to be exploring together in all the future episodes. And so I do hope you will join me for these. And in the meantime, thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thank you for listening to Lighten Your Load. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show and feel free to connect with me on Instagram to learn more about how you can remove the weight of excessive thinking off your mind so you can live with less stress, more clarity and greater resilience. You can also download part 1 of my book, Lighten Your Load, for free, using the link in the show notes. Thank you.